Once upon a time, in a small community, lived two sisters named Omalicha and Adugo. Both sisters were from the same father but different mothers. Ekema was the mother of Omalicha, while Ngbafo was the mother of Adugo. Both mothers hate each other so much, and they tried all they could to influence their daughters in their unending war. But the love both sisters had for each other overpowered the war between their mothers. Omalicha and Adugo were so close that their father, Mr. Okeke, was so happy that they never allowed the conflict between their mothers to overcome the love they shared. Both sisters were so happy with each other that even their mother's war had no impact in them. They tried so many times to settle their mother's war, but their best wasn't good enough, and they had no other choice than to remain strong and let their mothers to settle their differences. Omalicha and Adugo remained strong for each other and hoped that one day their mothers would be able to end the war between them. One afternoon, Omalicha and Adugo were heading home from the farm when they crossed paths with the prince of the land. After they exchanged pleasantries, they departed to their various ways. Adugo kept talking about Prince Achebe all through their way home. Adugo had fallen in love with the prince at first sight, and since then she never stopped dreaming about the prince and becoming the next queen. Adugo told her sister Omalicha about her feelings for the prince. Omalicha was happy for her, but advised her not to be in a hurry to express her love, but give herself time to know if the prince feels the same way for her, in order not to look cheap and desperate before the prince. Few weeks after, both sisters came across Prince Achebe, but this time he demanded to speak with Omalicha alone. Adugo was eager to know what they were discussing. After some minutes, they ended the discussion and headed back to his palace. On their way home, Adugo asked to know what they were discussing. Omalicha never wanted to let it out, but Adugo insisted to know. Then Omalicha let the cat out of the bag. He said he likes me and wants us to be friends. What? Are you sure he said that to you? Yes, he even invited me over to the palace to discuss something very important. Really? But how could that be? I'm the one in love with him, not you, and I should be the one to visit the palace. Adugo said with fear, and she kept wondering why the prince invited her sister to the palace. Some days later, Omalicha visited the palace. After exchanging pleasantries, Prince Achebe went straight to the point by telling her how much he loves and adores her. My prince, you can't love me. Why do you say so? My sister Adugo loves you since the very first day we crossed paths. But I don't love your sister. It's you my heart beats for, not your sister Adugo. My prince, please. I don't want to start any fight with my only sister. Yes, I love you too, but my sister loves you first, and I don't want her to start thinking that I took you away from her. My dear, nothing of such will happen. I love you, not your sister, and I want to make you my queen. Just go home and inform your parents about it, while my father and I will start the preparations of the bride price. When Omalicha got home, Adugo was anxious to know everything. Omalicha refused to tell her anything about their discussion, but Adugo was so desperate to know. After her constant worries, to know what they talked about, Omalicha told her the truth and everything the prince said. Adugo was so disappointed and shocked. She cried bitterly that the prince chose Omalicha over her. The next morning, Adugo visited the prince uninvited to confront the prince. But the prince made it clear to her that he loves Omalicha and not her. Adugo was so angry she started crying and ran back home. She blamed Omalicha for everything and accused her of brainwashing the prince into marrying her. Omalicha tried all in her to make her understand that love is what no one can change. But Adugo wasn't ready to listen to her, and she swore never to forgive her. And since then, the love between both sisters went sour, and the war between them was more serious than that of their mothers. Omalicha tried several times to make peace with her sister, but Adugo had made up her mind to team up with her mother to fight Omalicha and her mother. After the wedding, Omalicha moved to the palace to resume her duty as a wife and as the new queen. Each day that passes by, she kept trying her best to make peace with her sister, but all her efforts went futile. Adugo's anger and hatred grew higher and stronger, that she tried killing her sister, but all her plans failed. One day, Adugo bribed the palace cook to poison Omalicha's food for her to die in order for the prince to marry her. According to the traditions of the land, when the queen dies, the sister to the queen will automatically become the next queen of the land. Except the late queen had no sister, then another maiden from another family would be chosen as the new queen. The palace cook agreed to carry out Adugo's order and promised to get the job done, and before the cock crows, she will hear the good news. After Adugo left the palace without being noticed by anyone, the palace cook quickly rushed to Omalicha's hut to inform her and the prince about what her sister Adugo was planning. Omalicha at first never believed the palace cook, despite the war between them and hatred her sister had for her. She still believed that Adugo would never think of killing her. And to clear the doubt, they came up with a plan. The next morning, a message was sent round the village to announce the death of the queen, Omalicha. When Adugo and her mother heard about the news, they were very happy. Adugo could not hold back her excitement. She quickly rushed to the palace to confirm, but little did she know that a trap was laid for her. When she got to the palace, she met some elders in council. She sneaked out of the palace to see the cook to give her a balance. Per their agreement, after thanking the palace cook for a job well done, with excitement, she was about leaving when she received the shocker of her life. Behold, her sister Omalicha, the prince and the elders in council were all standing behind her, and they overheard her conversation with the palace cook. Then Omalicha believed all that the palace cook told her the previous night. Adugo was so ashamed of herself and actions and was unable to justify her actions, for she was already caught in the act. She was surprised to see her sister alive, and to clear her doubts, her sister Omalicha told her everything. What happened was that after the palace cook had told them about her plans of killing her by bribing the palace cook to poison her food, to clear the air, they decided to give a fake news the next day in order for people to gather at the palace and witness how Adugo would expose herself in front of everyone, of which she did. At that very moment, Adugo realized her actions and began to plead for their forgiveness. Her mother also pleaded on behalf of her daughter Adugo. Adugo blamed her mother for deceiving her into killing Omalicha, and out of anger and hatred, she allowed desperation and her mother's wrong advice overpowered her. Omalicha forgave them, and they were banished from the village and never to return, while Omalicha and her husband, the crown prince, lived happily ever after. Lessons from this is that never make a hasty decision out of anger. Never allow wrong advice to overpower you in any way. Desperation and hatred will only land you in trouble. Love cannot be forced on someone. Always learn to love who loves you and let go of the one who doesn't. And pray for someone who loves you to find you. And lastly, always let love lead. Don't allow desperation, anger, and hatred deprive you of good things, for in the end, had I know, always be the last. Thanks for watching. If you learned one or two from this story, please let me know at the comment section. See you soon in our next story. Bye.